Good morning, everyone. It is 5 o'clock in the morning, Sunday morning, November 11th, 11/7/2020. Sorry. I was up at 2 for some reason. What are we doing today? So, I have thoughts, lots and lots of thoughts. Hey, my microphone doesn't make those fucking noises anymore. I fixed it. Getting better here at the Spokane Experience. Probably far, far too slow, but who cares? All right. Let me get my big fucking head out of the way. So let's see what we're doing. Oh, Steven Pinker. He says life is getting better. Of course. What? All right. So this morning, I'm on the wrong page. Let's see what you want to see what I'm doing? All right. I was looking up rate of death for grocery store employees. Since March 1st, the number of grocery workers infected or exposed to coronavirus climbed 24%, while deaths from the virus have jumped 30%. Since March 1st of this year. Well, yeah, it's flu season. Anyways, it's the spike of flu season. These fuckers. Anyway, but I want to hear anyways. So I read this one. I know what this one says. Grocery workers died. Feeding our nation. Feeding the fat ones who died. Wait a minute. The fat ones were the ones dying. Wait a minute. The fat ones were the ones clogging up the hospital beds. Why? It's the grocery workers' fault for feeding those fat fucks. Oh, sorry. They deserve to die. No, out of 35,000 infections, apparently. I wonder how many workers there are. I mean, if there's only... the numbers don't add up, folks. 158 died in the pandemic. Not too bad. Probably somewhere around 1%, 1.2%. Which is probably how many die every year of some odd things. Because you can't find those numbers anymore. You can't find the numbers of how many people died of this or how many people died of that of 2020 or 2019 because they stopped recording it. Yeah, I know, you don't believe me. But they did. I have a hard time finding them. And they're trying to figure out how to skew the data like they have on climate change and climate alarmists so that they at least skew it closer to being justified in their tyranny, but they can't because, you know, it's kind of hard to say more people died than actually died. Yeah. Because I'm like, hey, I didn't die right here. Why am I on that list? Now, it's easy to use dead people to vote for Biden, but it's a lot harder to use live people as dead people, you know, and especially when they got a big old hole in their head for gunshot saying, yep, there's a coronavirus death. It's hard. It's easy to go back and change the data from 1930s and say, well, their techniques were wrong. We're pretty sure that their techniques were wrong, and so the temperature should be lower in the 1930s. And if you do that, then you get, now you get the 1.5% climate increase in temperature, but only if you adjust the 1930s temperatures down like they have. And so if you do all your models based on those 1930s corrupted models and yeah, things might get pretty funny. But since it didn't actually happen that way, 1930, remember the Dust Bowl? Grapes of Wrath? Pretty hot fucking weather back then. If you actually take the temperatures that were taken, which mercury's been mercury since mercury? If you take the temperatures for what they were written down as, well then, there's no global warming trend. Weird, isn't that? I don't know. Pissed me off. Fucking jerk. Let's see here. Where's my newspaper? Oh, I gotta figure out something. You want to see if I'm broke yet? You want to see if I'm broke yet, people? Probably in trouble. Whatever. Yeah. Fuck you. Fuck! God damn it. Ugh. What the hell? Broke.
Contour and say, well, I remember Sam, his eye arcs 137 degrees. That's just not the way to do it.
Right.
But in general, people do better when they think twice. Yeah.
So let me try and throw a couple of scenarios at you where this might not work so well. So just ordinary real life encounters. Let's say you're hiring someone for a job. I think a lot of people, you could either just entirely go on their CV and on the kind of rational expectation of how they should perform, references and so on, and normally that's a big part of it. But is there not also a gut feeling there?
There's absolutely a gut feeling, and it's foolish to act on it.
Well, because my experience is that, in those social encounters where you're trying to get the measure of another human being, actually the
I suck at that.
Adequate, and that there is something more intuitive.
There is the goal of having people that you like to be in the same office with. You just get along, you laugh at the same jokes. But there is a fair amount of research on the predictive value of different hiring criteria. That is, who bombs out of the job versus who gets promoted. The answer is that the job interview is pretty close to useless in predicting that. And this is a major theme of Kahneman's latest book, Noise, with Cass Sunstein and Olivier Sibony. That the kind of thinking that says, well, I know a good employee when I see one, turns out to be exactly wrong. That is, the job interview is, when evaluated objectively in terms of whether it filters out the people that it should, and the answer is it doesn't. I don't expect that most universities, companies, and so on are going to abandon the interview. We just like them too much. But objectively,
chemistry then, the sort of idea of human-to-human chemistry is something we should try to ban it.
I think so you gotta be careful when you're listening to scientists, especially left-wing ones. Well, they're all fucking left-wing, but he says, he said something very important. It doesn't weed out the ones you want it to. I don't know this for a fact, but I'm just suspect well, I consider myself a good employee. Everybody does, don't they? No, yeah. So that's a little biased there on my part. I can't help it, but so that's my bias right there. Okay, so we take into my bias, right? That I'm a good employee when I'm hired. I usually get raises. I usually go far in companies when I like the company. When I want to be places, I tend to go far. I've never fired myself when I've owned a business. So, is this what I want? I don't know what the fuck I want. So it's Sunday. Give me a freaking boo-boo break. Let me see. No, don't do that. Stop. Sorry, I don't want to give you code. I want to give you something else. All right. So, this fucker. No, I don't want to save nothing. God, fucking Windows 11. They snuck this shit in on me, fuckers. Yes. Okay. I don't know why I brought that up. Because I can't do math. So, this is how the study might have went. I had 50 employees. Can you see that? Can you see what I'm putting down here? Not really. Holy crap. Okay, so you had 50 employees. Can you see that? And out of those 50 employees, 75% of them got great marks. Like, oh yeah. Like, so whatever, fucking 75% of fucking, let's go 100 employees to make it easy. So out of 100 employees, 75 of those employees aced their interviews. Woo! Sorry, wow. Okay. So, studies show that out of the 30 employees that got fired, 15 of them scored excellent on their interview process. So, scoring high or scoring low doesn't seem to weed out the bad ones. If you have 50% of them that were fired, scored high on their... All right. So this is where science... I don't know. I mean, I don't know the criteria. This is the problem about fucking liberal fucking scientists and teachers, motherfuckers who don't understand business, don't know how to... I don't know the study. He doesn't cite the study. Pinker's a pretty good scientist, but he's a fucking liberal. He's never ran a business in his life. All right. Now, if my good old buddy Jordan Peterson came out, who's a clinical psychologist, who's worked with many businesses to help retain employees and stuff like that, help them negotiate better wages, things of that nature by being more assertive, stuff like that. If he did a study and said, yeah, interviews are pretty much worth it. So here's what that study probably doesn't show. The information that's lost. So we interviewed 1,000 people, right? And only hired 100. We only hired 100. So that's 900 people we didn't hire based off an interview. We don't know what percentage of that 900 were good employees. So, unless, I don't know, now my head hurts. So, how is the study showed? How do we know that interviewing people is pointless as it concerns weeding out the bad ones? Now, just because you scored high, aced your interview, and got hired, might not correlate that you're not going to get fired. But what about the ones that didn't ace their interview and didn't get hired? How do we know those had just as many good, I don't know how they could determine that. Because they went on to some other job and did well in that job. Well, maybe that job was, so here's something that I know they didn't take into consideration. Out of let's say, for instance, out of 100 people, 75 scored excellent on their interview, and out of those 75, 15 were fired, and another 15 were fired that didn't ace. I don't know how they did, but I've been hired to many jobs and got into the job and said, oh, this job sucks. The management sucks. Okay, so one perfect example. I got a perfect example, right? It was called venture capital. It was over there on, it's on where the little YMCA is now, or the new. It was called venture capital. It was Sharp and Monroe, Boone and Monroe, right there, right across the street from Taco Bell, which is actually important because I was hired because I had extensive management experience in call centers and things like that to be a team leader supervisor position, right? I didn't apply that job to be a fucking on the floor talking on the phone salesman. Right out of the gate, I got hired. Okay, blah, blah, blah. I'm in the training, and I'm notified. Oh, no. No one gets hired straight to manager or straight to supervisor. I'm like, but your fucking ad said supervisors wanted. I applied. That's the job I applied for. That's why am I going through? Like basic. Well, I understand going through basic training because you got another job. But okay, but now you're informing me though I have to go work on the phones first and earn my way up to that position. That's not what okay, but it was fine. I needed the job. So as I'm sitting through training, I remember the little gal. They're swearing, and like, look, if you know me, I swear all the time. I tell jokes all the time. But that's not how I made progress in all these call centers, talking on the phone, and getting raises and getting promotions. When I went to work, I never swore. I never talked dirty. I never told dirty jokes. None of that because that's not the position. That's not my job. That's not what I'm there for. And I was really good at turning it on, turning it off. When I put the tie on every morning, the language sharpened up, and all my dirty little thoughts and tendencies stayed home. Little bastards. So, as I was doing this, going through training, they were trying to, I think, emulate Google. We're laid back. We're kicked back here. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool, but man, you guys might get. I could just sense that they were too laid back. They weren't professional enough because being on the phones, talking with people, you need a level of professionalism, or you're going. So, in the high pressure, cold call, make a sale business that telemarketing originally was, which, I mastered. One thing you don't want to do is turn any high probable sale off by saying something that might, whether it's political, religion, Ford versus Chevy, AC/DC versus Van Halen, whatever. You don't want to put anything out there that might make them feel like you're not in line with their beliefs and system, whatever. So being able to avoid alienating your customer is a skill. And part of that skill is never telling a joke, never saying anything that you're not sure is in line with your customer. And so for the first 5 to 10 minutes, you have to build a rapport and really figure out who you're talking to before you try to buddy up with them, right? Because you got to know how to buddy up with them right. Okay, these people were trying to buddy up with their students and all that, and laid back, we're casual around here. And I just said, whoa, not good. Swearing's not good on the phone. Swearing during training isn't good. That's too kickback. Telling jokes, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe they're jokes are so. I mean, look at jokes today. Anyways, it's so easy to offend people with jokes that you don't want to do it unless you know who you're talking to, and wow. So they put me out on the call floor, but luckily this was venture capital was a survey place, just taking surveys, and I was actually starting to make good money because, man, I used to sell people thousands of dollars worth of magazines that never wanted a magazine in their fucking life, 5-year contract, get them in, lock them in, and I only got paid on my residuals, insurance. I mean, I knew how to sell. Getting some schmo to answer a few questions on the phone, whoa, that was fucking easy. Oh my God. I was like, woo. So anyways, these dudes, though, were slave drivers. The guy who was managing it he was kind of notorious in the call center world here in Spokane. I can't remember his name, but you always saw his name in the fucking newspaper, hiring. And maybe it was the 5th day. And for the second time, I think they'd done this earlier, I get a little hyperglycemic sometimes, whatever. We'd been working for 4 hours. It was time for our lunch break, right? And motherfucker comes on the floor and says, look, guys, let's just run another half an hour. We're almost there. Get these numbers and you can have the rest of the day off. And they'd done it the time before, and I had to go to lunch, and I was owed a lunch break after 4 hours. Period. I know the lose. I was like, I looked around. I was like, look, I don't care. I'm going to go to Taco Bell because I'm starving and I need lunch right now, right? And you can fire me if you want, but I'm going to lunch. All right. I'm not going to sit here past my lunch break and starve so you can hit your numbers while I starve on the phone trying to, and everyone's like, ooh, right? And I rolled out, rolled over to Taco Bell. 3 or 4 other people got up and rolled with me. And when I came back, they didn't do shit because legally they knew they're fucked, right? And the dude was trying to get us to do something he couldn't get us to do. And if nobody stood up, and I'm paraplegic, right? Yeah, most people just fucking do what their bosses say, and that's how you get into overtime or a really bad situation. I decided, fuck, and so it was another thing is I kept seeing people that were roommates of the trainers and the supervisors getting the job I was hired for. I'm like, fuck this, right? So I left. Now, back to the original point. I interview great. I'm a great employee if I want to work for that business. All right? So how are they deciding that a guy who was interviewed and aced it, who might have got fired or quit or something like that, how do we know the reasons that they think he was a bad employee? Because I'm sure, because I quit that job. I said, fuck that, right? Just walked out. I'm not dealing with that on a daily basis. On that metrics, I'm probably proof that acing the interview doesn't mean a good employee. Well, how do you know the fucking business was worth working for? No, okay, so there's a Dakota Direct. It was a $50 million telemarketing firm here in town. Ended up having 5 locations. I worked for them off and on a couple times. When I worked out the airport park, within 2 years, I was already an editor. I was doing so many great things there that they actually had to change the way they did things because there's this dude who I was a trainer, I was a team leader, and I moved up to editor within 2 years, right? You know, and so I knew every product, right? I knew how to like when Ameritech came over from Michigan, I was at the big table with the big boys because that's where Ken Carosella, who was the manager of the airport park, who went on to manage the whole company, wanted me, all right? I'm telling you, I was good. So Ken Carosella eventually moved on from being the general manager of all Dakota Direct, $50 million company, and he opened up his own little, this was a business website building company. We called businesses, we offered to build them websites for them, and blah, 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 blah. And I hadn't seen Ken in 6 months to 2 years. I can't remember, a long time. He still had my number, calls me up, and says, Cameron, I'm starting this business. We're getting off the ground. I need somebody who knows what they're doing to help me out, train our guys, get it going. I'm like, sure, I'm in. Unfortunately for Ken, who was probably a little bit hustled too, I knew the internet too well. I knew what they were offering was bullshit. They couldn't get our customers to be first or second or first on Yahoo's search engine, right? They promised they would, and you actually paid extra for that little perk, and then it never happened. I knew they could make. I was like, how are you getting this done, right? Because back then, they weren't paying Yahoo to do this, but they were saying, we can we can beat the algorithm, and they weren't doing a very good job at it. And I'm like, so you're lying. And I was like, well, I'm not going to sit there and lie, or I'm not going to train people. I'm not going to train your employees to lie to get the sales we need. I'm not going to be responsible for that. And I quit there too. So, and I love Ken, but I was like, I'm not going to work for somewhere like that, which is already kind of an icky fucking business, and do something really icky, right? That's just me. So I would challenge Steven Pinker, and I think he said it. Where are we at? If you listen to him,
turns out to be exactly wrong. That we, that the kind of thinking that says, well, I know a good employee when I see one, turns out to be exactly wrong. That is, the job interview is, when evaluated objectively in terms of whether it filters out the people that it should, and the answer is it doesn't.
So does it filter out the people it should? That's not what interviews are about. He doesn't understand business. I'm not doing job interviews to filter out the people, right? The bad ones, right? Those are obvious, right? I mean, I'm there to see if somebody has the chops, has the presentation that I want my customers to see, all right? Just because when they started working for me and they don't perform like that, or maybe they're let go or they quit, doesn't mean they couldn't have done the job or aren't the right person. He's not, speaking of being objective, right? How can you look at job interviews objectively? What's the criteria? How are you going to say these employees that left or were fired, why did they left or were they fired, right? Did they just go off and never work anywhere else again? Or maybe they found a company that was actually worth working for and thrived over there and were great employees because that interviewer saw what this interviewer saw, but this interviewer's company sucked, so that employee said, fuck this, and moved on. This is how liberal, great science, and Pinker is one of the best. Pinker's a great scientist, man. I'm not even down Pinker. I'm just saying I'm questioning that study because academics are academics, and they don't understand the business world, and they're jealous. They hate that. They hate the fact that people go, they see other professors or their classmates who go out there and get a job with their degree, make millions, while they're stuck with their salary putting up with punk-ass fucking college students. That's a bias. So, it's so hard to get good information and good data and good research nowadays because all these people out here, like Steven Pinker, and like Brett Weinstein, outside of biology, it's laughable. And it's not that he's not smart. He's over creative. Outside of biology, some of his ideas for government and other things, I'm like, what the fuck are you, Brett? Shut the fuck, Brett. You're out. Get back in your lane, buddy. And I say that as when I talk about lanes, I'm talking about areas where you have a technical experience, educational background experience, and a proficiency. And you're trying to act like you have that same proficiency and expertise in other areas, which obviously you don't, but you want people to, I don't know. My profession, my background is everything, motherfuckers. Hard knocks, the school of life. I've been there, fucking done that. On top of self-education and actual education and, brilliant genetics. Don't hate me because I'm beautiful, please. This fat is beautiful. All right. I have no idea what the fuck this fucking today's show is about. But it's Sunday, so I just threw one out there so you have something to eat popcorn to. All right, everyone, check out the ones you love. Check on them often. This is Captain Kirk. I'm out.